You're doing hill sprints wrong. Everybody's doing hill sprints these days, from Joe Rogan to NFL teams, NBA teams, and they're all doing hill sprints in a certain way to condition something that's good for them, but it's not ideal for runners. Running hard up a hill is not the same as running a hill sprint. There's a big difference. Let's talk about that. You ready? Hill sprints should be 8 seconds and not longer. When most people do a hill sprint, they're going 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 2 minutes, and that's a different kind of thing. Are you wondering why we do hill sprints for only 8 seconds? Shouldn't you be sprinting longer because it would be better? No, don't do it more than 8 seconds. And we're gonna explain that shortly.
So I got that idea from Brad Hudson, Run Faster from the 5K to the Marathon. Fantastic book, highly recommend. Brad Hudson. I was a fan of his because he coached Dathan Ritzenhein, who's one of my favorite American runners. Very successful coach. And he had his runners doing hill sprints, all out for 8 seconds. Now, why 8 seconds? Because we have 3 metabolic systems. We have the aerobic system that we're all maybe familiar with, and that goes on and on and on. We have the anaerobic system, which kind of maxes out around 90 seconds. So 400 meter, maybe up to the 800 meter, largely anaerobic. But then we have the immediate energy system, which is the ATP phosphocreatine system. And that fires for 8 seconds. You have free ATP, which is just energy. ATP is just it's what creates movement, any movement in our body, cellular movement. So you have ATP just available in your blood at all times. And you can use it up, most of it, in about 8 seconds before you have to rapidly start making more with anaerobic metabolism. So for 8 seconds, you can do anything. You can lift the heaviest thing. You can run away from the lion. You can climb the tree. You can sprint as hard as you can, like, Godzilla's chasing you, and you won't even be out of breath. You won't be tired whatsoever. You can go all out. But if you go beyond that, by definition, you have to start slowing down. So when we max it at 8 seconds, what we're doing there is we're maxing out our time exposure to fast twitch development. And if you were to go longer than 8 seconds, we're really doing an anaerobic interval. And if you're gonna do an interval, you might as well just do strides or do an interval, for goodness sake. But if you're gonna get the fast twitch muscle development, keep it short. And the reason you need a full recovery is because that's how long it takes for you to be able to go 100% speed again.
Okay, now the one way, listen very carefully, because you will mess up your hill sprints if you do this one thing. Don't ever run them sideways. You don't go as fast. Your injury risk goes sky high. I'm telling you, like 80% of runners do it sideways. Don't be one of them. Those 8-second hill sprints, they're filling a part of your training that nothing else that you do ever hits on. They fill in something that maybe only contribute 5 or 10% to your running performance, but it's the 5 or 10% that you probably have 0% developed. And hill sprints are so powerful because they can very rapidly increase your performance by filling in that gaping hole that is in your training. Now, the purpose of these hill sprints is to develop those fastest of the fast twitch muscle fibers. And that's why we keep them to a maximum of 8 seconds. Because for 8 seconds, you can go really fast. You can lift something really heavy. You can really go all out, can't you? You can lift the heaviest thing. You can run from the cheetah. You can run up a hill. Okay, so why do we run up a hill like this as opposed to on the flat? Because if you're on a track, can't you run even faster? And the answer is, well, yes, you can. But when you run up a hill, it's against resistance. You're fighting gravity even more. And so you actually get to recruit your fastest of fast twitch muscle fibers even more. So you can maximize the fast twitch muscle development by going really fast or by going really heavy. So if you go in the gym and you do a squat with as much weight as you can, you're actually activating those fast twitch fibers as well. But when you run up a hill really fast and against gravity, you're activating those fibers, but in a way that's most applicable, most similar to your running. So it's basically weightlifting for runners, most specifically, as specific as you can, because you're actually running. Now, another reason why you want to go uphill as opposed to flat is because your injury risk really goes down. And there's a couple of reasons why. We'll come to those after this car passes. Just keep filming it. Reason number one why you have less injury going up a hill, think about it. Every time you take a stride on the flat, you have to come back down all the way to the same plane that you started on. But when you go uphill, if this hill were like really steep, when you bring your leg forward, you actually touch the ground here, not here. And so you actually have less impact when you hit the ground. And we all know that running can be a high injury related activity. Why? Because of impact. So we get to reduce the impact by going uphill. And the second way is because you have less range of motion. Now, when you sprint on the flat, you've got this big, huge range of motion. And so sometimes you see sprinters that have, a strain in their hamstring or something like that. But when you go up a hill, you just simply contact the ground sooner, and so you have less range of motion. So your injury risk is minimized while we at the same time maximize the fast twitch muscle development. And for those reasons, it's an ideal activity if you want to develop your fast twitch muscle fibers. So after doing that, I gotta catch my breath a little bit. Now, if you're super out of breath, it means you went too long or you haven't done a hill sprint in forever. Guilty, a little bit, but you really do want to take a long time between these hill sprints. So what should you be doing? Well, you can walk, you can jog around and get some of your miles in. You can even sit down or lay down in the middle of the road if you want. Don't actually do that, disclaimer, but you just want to allow enough time to go by for your metabolic systems to create more ATP so that you can use, once again, that ATP phosphocreatine system. You gotta let it build up. If you do another hill, even if you feel fresh and ready to go again after 1 minute, like right now, I could do another hill sprint and it's been less than a minute. I could do it, but am I gonna hit maximum speed? What do you think? You're not going to, and especially after you do 3, 4, or 5, you're gonna need that time. Now think about this. An Olympic sprinter who's running the 100 meter, after they run that 100 meters, how long would it take before they can go back and run another one just as fast? 1 minute later? Probably not. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes later? Probably not. The answer is about 10 minutes. 10 minutes, that's how long it takes for those metabolic systems to replenish your free ATP. So you do want to allow at least 5, if not 10 minutes between hill sprints to recover. And during that time, you can just continue on with your run. Get a couple miles in, jog nice and easy. And you don't have to do all of these hill sprints in a row. You could do one every mile sprinkled throughout your run. And that way, you're not wasting time. Now, what's that old saying that your grandpa used to say? A hill sprint in the hand is worth an Andrew Snow in the bush. If you're wondering how steep of a hill you need to run a hill sprint, it doesn't really matter. Kind of the steeper the better, but to a degree. If it's way too steep and you can't really move powerfully up it, it's too steep. But I do hill sprints on pretty gradual hills sometimes if that's all I can find. So don't limit yourself to thinking it needs to be up this crazy hill. Just find a hill that challenges you and do it there. You can vary it too. You can do some more steep, some less steep, and it's all okay. Don't overanalyze it. But if I had to choose one, I'd say 6 to 8% grade is pretty good. Now, how fast should you run these? Now this is the catch, okay? Pay attention here, because the answer is 100% speed. Now that doesn't mean 100% effort. In order to go 100% speed, you might be going 100% effort, but have you ever got to the end of your marathon and you give it 100% at the end? 100% effort, but certainly not 100% of the speed you could do if you're fresh. So these need to be done at 100% speed. And if you don't take enough recovery between, they're gonna always feel like they're 100% effort and you're trying really hard. But if we actually measured your speed, it's gonna get slower and slower and slower, and that's no good. That's why you need a big recovery. If you don't have time to spend doing these big recoveries, what I suggest is that you don't do hill sprints. Instead, you could do strides, because you could just accumulate more and more and more of them and save the hill sprints for when you do have the time. So don't rush these. Check out our video here on strides. It'll explain everything that you need to know on how to get started with those. Now, there's one thing you gotta do before doing your hill sprints, and that is a very thorough warm-up. Warming up's important, you can understand, for intervals and workouts, but it's really important when you're going at full capacity, because if you were to strain a muscle, it's gonna happen when you're not warmed up. So please make sure that you're getting in at least 7 minutes or so of nice, easy running. And you can even do a couple of strides if you want to warm up even more. Just going straight into a hill sprint isn't the best idea. Also because you want to warm up your neuromuscular system. So if you just go from a cold start to a sprint, you're not going to go as fast as if you were warmed up. And that's why you see Olympic sprinters doing a very thorough warm up before the gun goes off. Why? Because they need to get their muscles ready. And remember that one of the reasons we're doing this is to recruit those fastest of fast twitch muscle fibers. So you have to be warmed up before you do it. Ooh, it's so much warmer. If you're wondering, how many should you do? I want you to think about weightlifting. So if you go to the gym and you're gonna do a maximum bench press and really grind it out, would you do that every single day? Or would you do it maybe every other day or even less? And really what we're doing here is weightlifting. So you're not gonna do it every day, you would do it every other day or less. And so we're gonna max these out at 3 times per week. And in a session, you really wanna work up to, but not really exceed 8 hill sprints in a session. So that's a maximum of 8 hill sprints done 3 times a week. And that's of course 24 hill sprints in a week. Once you get up to that, remember, we're not power lifters here, we're runners. So once you get up to that, you've really kind of maxed out the return that you're gonna get. And might you get a little bit more return if you did even more? I guess, but are you a sprinter or are you a distance runner? So you're really getting the most bang for your buck if you can get up to 24 done in 3 sessions in a week. And beyond that, you don't need to continue to maximize them. You really want to focus on strides, and you really want to focus on other kinds of runs, maybe improving your easy running and just running more volume or something like that. Thank you so much if you're one of our readers who's got the book and left us an awesome review. But if you haven't yet, go ahead and pick up your copy, Run Elite. It's on Amazon right now, it's on Audible right now. Train and think like the greatest runners of all time. If it weren't for you guys, we wouldn't be even need this. So take care, and thank you for making it a success.